Hey guys, on this podcast we will be discussing a certain man in a red suit who just worked this past holiday. Anyway, if there are any Kringle-sensitive individuals in earshot of this, might want to have them sit this one out. Thanks so much and enjoy.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the Dumb Dad Podcast. My name is Kevin and I'm a dumb dad.
Hey, my name is Evan. I'm a dumb dad.
Cheers.
Cheers, my friend. Wow. It has been a minute, as they say, meaning that the minute is quite a long time, is what's
Weeks.
happening there.
It's been weeks.
It's been weeks.
I want to just get this disclaimer out of the way up front because we both had a dumb dad moment and we had it on the last podcast, whenever that was. I think it was 32 years ago.
Yeah.
We said on it, man, you know what? This break hasn't seemed that long.
I know.
It's
What
only
a
been
stupid.
There's two reasons why it was stupid. One, we recorded it on like the Sunday after they got out of school. So it was already done. That's like saying a weekend is long, which happens sometimes. But
Yeah.
we were like, holiday break. So far, it's just kind of a normal weekend. Anyway, so much has happened since then.
So much.
What is stupid foreshadowing? Dumb dad. We were both like, we're doing okay. We'll see what happens.
Isn't that sick? I mean, it probably happens in life a lot, but I feel like that in parenting when you feel like everything's going pretty well.
Yep.
You just don't know.
No
that,
notes.
Like, wait till you turn the corner and that's how you get a tray of food over because you didn't say corner.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of getting a tray of food on you.
Heyo.
We had we made the best of it. We had a nice, I'll start it with that.
Okay.
We still made it so that it was a nice Christmas. We
Mm-hmm.
still had fun with the kids, but man, was it bad. It was chalk it up as a bad holiday break.
And we're still in it. We still have a week left.
Still have a week left. 2/3 down. In Southern California, you get 3 weeks.
Well, I'm sure we're just going to recap a couple of like strong moments, right? But we moved the elf. We went through Christmas with our families.
Okay.
And, we decorated. We did all this stuff.
You decked the halls.
We decked the halls. And you decked it. Your family decked it with a little bit of vomit.
Yeah, I had... Okay, so let's just get into it. So our kids we're in week 2, finishing it out. Actually, right before school ended, we talked about this. My kids got potentially the norovirus, just vomit everywhere all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And as of that recording, it was like, well, I don't have it, I'm fine, but we'll see. Didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow, narrowly avoided that one. But we were like, okay, well, if this all plays out and I don't get it, we'll still be able to... Christmas will come, and then we'll be able to spend it with our families. No, the kids start getting fevers. My daughter gets it first. She gets it pretty bad. She gets a really high fever. And here's the thing. I'm grateful that I don't have to do what my parents did, which was like make our kids put a thermometer under their tongue because it's just really hard at their age. They don't understand it. They don't hold it there. It's just flopping. Like I've done it. I have done it. It's awful.
And then you tell them, the anus is also an option.
Yeah.
So hold this under your tongue.
You're doing great as a dad, by the way. You're doing no notes. No,
Not that I've used that threat, but that's when we were kids.
I admire you.
That's when we were kids.
That's what your parents said to you?
No.
I don't know. You're backpedaling now. Just because Lindy is a listener.
The anus is an option. Is that why this tastes so bad?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. When were you sick last?
Oh, that's the dogs.
So they start getting, my daughter gets fever. She gets really bad. And it's one of those things like you scan it, like either the forehead like laser or the one you slide across the forehead to the temple. Either way, never take the first reading. You got to do 3.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to do 3.
Every time with my daughter, I was scanning it, and the first time it was like 106. I was like, she's like, am I sick? And I go, I think you're dead.
Yeah. Actually, it's weird because you should be cold right now.
You scan her again, and it's like, you scan her again, and then you kind of like, you get to a median number, and you're like, okay, you're actually at like 101. It's still not great.
Yeah.
So she had that. We're pushing through that, and now we're just kind of like, okay, well, we're going to get that now. That's going to be the next thing in our house.
And every time you and I determined, okay, so let's, it's been kind of a crazy day. Let's podcast tomorrow.
Right.
You call me like 3 hours later. So my kid just started throwing up. We're going to push tomorrow. Okay, well, maybe we can't do this week. Hey, let's meet up for Thursday. We normally meet up for Thursday. So we do Thursday. We should go live or something fun like that. So just so you know, my kids have been coughing for a couple days. It's like, okay. So we just kept pushing it because every time we would think like, okay, well, let's meet on this day. Mm-hmm. It was like that would trigger Your kid's getting sick.
They kept getting fevers, and then my son got a fever, and we were just like, well, that's inevitable. And then my wife gets a fever, and we're just like, okay, we're just
You're not allowed to do that.
She was doing these things too, where she was just like, it was one of those things where like, if I was in her position, she'd have felt the same way that I was feeling, which was I'm sitting across the room from her. She was like sitting with the kids, and she just goes, "God, it's hot in here." And I went, "No, like, it was just one of those like, no, just get the thermometer. And she kind of knew that she said it. And then I went over and I scanned her and I was like, 101 or something. It was like 100 or 101. And it was just like, you're not healthy. And she's like, come on. So
this is on me now.
with the norovirus, I had stayed in our guest room, right? Especially because my wife got it. And she had slept with my son like the first night he had it, or my dog.
And how did she get it?
Huh? I don't know. We don't know.
No idea.
Some things in science we haven't quite figured out yet. But it's one of those things like she's not going to lay with her kids, and we get that. That's just like part of being a parent. Sometimes you're going to get.
She could if
sickness
she's a hard
because,
ass.
Here's the thing: I don't understand. My son barfed all over my chest, and I didn't get it. And then my daughter is getting this fever, and I'm taking care of her, and I don't get it. And my son gets a fever, and anyway, my wife's laying with him, and she's just like, because it was a perfectly fluid event of sicknesses. They all get norovirus, so they're all sleeping together. So I'm in the guest room, and we're just like holding out hope maybe Daddy doesn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But this is exactly what happened with us with COVID.
I know
exactly.
You held out, and then you were alone still.
And then I was alone with COVID. So I'm just like, here we go again. And then Christmas is like, now suddenly that cute little ticker we have that says how many days till Christmas isn't fun anymore, because we're just like, how many days until I'm vomiting on the Christmas tree?
Yeah. Or how many days have I been vomiting?
Yeah, because the kids definitely know what day it is. It's not like in our family, we would push Thanksgiving growing up because kids don't know or care what day that is. So we would just like push that day and go like, we're going to have
you've clearly been counting down to a specific day.
It's not good.
Yeah.
So we're just doing that, and I'm getting anxious. Then they start getting fevers, and I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to have to hold out. So like my wife's kind of still recovering from the norovirus.
Yeah.
So then she gets the fevers with them. So then I'm still quarantined. I haven't been in my bed. I went, skipping ahead, I slept in my bed for the first time yesterday.
Oh my God.
So
Kevin's favorite song over the holidays was "It's the Holiday Season."
So we're 2 weeks.
Whoop-de fucking do.
Yeah. So I'm holding out that I'm not going to get this fever, and I have a dumb dad moment in the middle of all this.
I couldn't feel more afraid for my life in this moment, being in this house.
You should be. It's not great here. I have like a dumb dad moment in the middle of all this, which was my son. I left the guest door open, which is right next to the kids' room. So I sleep with the door open, and I mean, we're day whatever. Nothing matters. And I hear the door open at 3 a.m, and I know my son's gonna go to my wife's room, and I'm like, she is sick. She's been through it. She's been kind of keeping me at an arm's distance, but I'm helping out. I'm still helping out where I can, but she's doing a lot. And he wakes up at 3, and I was like, hey, buddy, come in here. No, don't go in mom's bed. And he lays down with me, and he wakes up, and both my wife and I are like, why'd you do that? Why'd you tell this sick kid to sleep with you?
Why would you have done that?
It felt like such a cool, good guy idea at the time.
Yeah.
It was really stupid.
Dumb.
It was fine. It all worked out. But so now we're a day and a half from going to visit my parents for Christmas, which we were going to visit them on Christmas. It is the 23rd. And
Festivus.
Everyone is kind of getting through it.
Yep.
Everyone's on the mend. And I didn't tell you this. And my daughter, we took her into the doctors because we called ahead, and we were just like, talking about like she had the norovirus, and then she had the flu. It kind of hit her the worst. The other two handled it okay. And they were like, just come in and make sure it's not bronchitis or something. We're like, okay. So we go to the doctors on the 23rd. We go in there. They look her over, and the doctor just like checking her out. So she's fine now. And I was like, yeah, she's on the mend. And he's just like, and he looks down her throat, and he was just like, yeah, let's just do a test for strep.
Yep.
I don't, you want to be safe. And I was like, okay. In my head, I was like, I've had strep so many times. It's like swallowing a knife.
Yeah.
And she has not been complaining about any of that. So she has strep.
Yep.
And it was like, okay.
Because kids will come out with their brain falling out of their nose.
Right.
Going like, "Are you okay, honey?" Like, "I feel fine." Why? Like they don't know to admit like, "I need help. I'm not doing well." But like they just think like, "I'm fine." Why? Because they think maybe they'll get in trouble, or maybe mommy and dad will be mad if I don't feel good, or whatever.
I also think part of it is that like they just wake up and they just go, "Oh, they're like, wow, this is life now."
Yeah, go. Well, this is weird.
Guess my nose. It was fun having one.
My
Doesn't
nose-
work anymore.
My nose must be growing.
Yeah. It's like they don't say anything. And I asked my daughter, I was like, "Did it hurt to swallow or anything?" She's like, "No." I'm like, "You have strep?" Like, so then the doctor's office called us at like, 4:30 p.m. and they were like, "So your daughter has strep." And I was like, "Okay." And they're like, "We called in antibiotics to the doctor's office." And I was like, Okay. Once she takes the medicine, how long until she's not contagious? And she's like, 24 hours. And I was like, and then she's 100% not contagious. And they're like, yes, 24 hours on medicine.
So you can still go.
So we could still go.
You're down to the minute
We're down to the minute.
of getting that
we went to
prescription
the
filled.
Walgreens, got it, take it, start it. You took the night one, you have to take it twice a day.
Took it in the parking lot.
Take it. Don't close the bottle. We need it. We're going to use it right away. Got her the medicine the next morning, Christmas Eve night, take the medicine. Christmas Day morning, take the medicine, go to my parents. We made it.
Wow.
Here's the funny thing. I started having my first bouts of anxiety attacks through all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a whole thing. I'd had panic attacks before a couple of times in my life, like you count on one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started having like, oh, good, I'm having a heart attack. On top of everything.
No, that's old hat. That's old panic attack hat.
So I was like, oh, I'm having a heart attack. And like, I'm doing like looking it up. And then I called my mom, who's a cardiac nurse, has been for a while, and talk to her about it. And she was just like, well, go for a walk and do all this stuff. So I do all that. And she's like, does it worse? And I was like, felt better on the walk. She goes, oh yeah, you're having panic attacks.
Yeah, because it's worse when you're sitting there thinking about it.
Well, that's what she said. She goes, when do you get it? And I was like, just when I'm like alone on the couch or in bed at night staring at the ceiling.
Yep.
She's like,
yeah,
you're having anxiety attacks, which was a weird, funny, it's a complicated thing because here's my wife still. I do a lot as a stay-at-home dad, but my wife carries the holidays. So there is this like weird thing of like, she's like fever, vomiting, still like, well, we should go here and do this and do that. And I'm the one who's like having an anxiety attack, which is just like, I mean, if you ever want to feel like a useless piece of shit, be the dad who doesn't plan like the events and has anxiety attacks about everything.
Yeah.
I think that's an objectively funny. Men are fucking fragile.
Well, let me speak from a place of experience for a second. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. That's never like a fun or easy thing to go through, especially if you've never had it before, because it's quite overwhelming, obviously, in many ways. But yeah, I mean, it's like the worst thing you can do is like get down on yourself for it, but it's also really hard not to do that.
Sure.
And I didn't really start having any sort of panic or anxiety, anything like that, until like my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
But it runs in my family. My mom's had it like her whole life. My brother has had it since he was like a little kid. All this kind of stuff, and like, but what's wild about it is that like you it's almost like objectively I just gotta like. Whoa, I just got to calm down. But you can't. And it's like it's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That you know what you're supposed to do, but you can't. And then I always described it like when you're having like a panic attack or an anxiety moment or whatever, it's like you're the spider in the toilet and somebody flushed it. And there's no way you're going to climb out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually the water stops every time. It's one of the biggest things I've learned. Eventually the water stops,
right?
And you're still there and you're like, okay, And that's one of the things. There's a lot of tools. I mean, that's one of the many things I learned through therapy is like there's a lot of tools you can use to. One of the most important things is to identify when you start to feel that coming on, and then the tools you can use to help yourself get away from that, because you can't really get out of it. It's not like it's not, you can't just do one thing where you snap it. Yeah. Once you're in it, it's more about the tools you can use in which to help aid yourself away from it.
Sure.
So you don't get thrown in the toilet.
The toilet plumbing that works.
Anyway, but yeah, I just, it's kind of wild. That's, but good for you for acknowledging it. I mean, that's one of the most important things, to figure out a way to deal with it, because it isn't like something that just completely goes away or never happens again or whatever, because in the way it was explained to me, like in any way, shape or form, if it's in your bloodstream or life or something like that, it can be a small, stupid thing that makes it start.
Yeah.
Or it could be a big event. Sometimes
it was
it's
a
big event. Sometimes it's like a lot of little things that just add up to where you're saying maybe like your wife carries a lot of the holidays. You start to like think about that a little bit, and then, you know, it's just like one little thing triggers it, and next thing you know, you're like lost in this like, you know, endless tornado of thought.
Yeah, it definitely got us to talking about 2023, and we're not gonna have resolutions. Come on, what are we
not doing resolutions?
No. We don't
attainable resolutions.
I guess obtainable.
Yeah,
I guess
goals.
that's like kind of what we're gonna do to like, not because of this reason, not because of like my panic attacks, but like more about just like restructuring, because like that is a real thing. That is like weird that like I would have anxiety attacks while like I'm saying my wife is still carrying all the stuff. Like jokes aside, I need to be fair about what I can do. What's obtainable for me, because I have like tunnel vision. I have true ADD of just like, I can just focus on one thing and not think about 50 things.
Yeah.
That's a gift that my wife, and it seems like most moms and women have, which is multitasking while watching like a movie or whatever, or doing something and thinking about the next thing. I need to maybe like start working on, should I be making lists? Should I? So it is something I'm going to work on.
Be careful how you describe that, because I think it's both. In some ways, it I don't even want to say it hurts you, but I think the way you're describing is like you're so focused that it's hard to focus on it's hard to like spread out the focus to think about the other things that need to get done when you're hyper focused on one thing.
Sure.
That also is what makes you a very good writer and a very good comedian and a very good father in many different ways, that you're able to focus so solely on one thing and give all your attention to something. So it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just, it's sort of a gift and a curse in some ways. I feel the same way too. I'm like that in many ways. My cousins used to, like when I was a kid, used to make fun of me for like having selective hearing. Like I would just choose not to hear them or whatever, because I was like, but it's like, and sometimes the same thing with my wife, where I'm also the person, I go see a movie and then like months later, I'm like, I went and saw this movie, blah, blah, blah. And my wife's like, yeah, I was there with you. It's like, right. I feel bad that I just said that out loud, but at the same time, I wasn't talking to you or looking at you. I was watching the movie. That's kind of how I'm focused like that as well. Like, or I'll be watching something or doing something, and my wife will have to get my attention like 2 or 3 times. But it's not like I heard her and didn't acknowledge her. I'm so focused on something. That's what I'm focused on. I don't hear anything else.
For sure.
So it's a little bit of both, I'd say. But I
have
hear
to
what you're
acknowledge
saying.
that, because I appreciate that, what you said, but also I do need to acknowledge that my wife is still there and these things still can and should be done. Yeah. So I do have to find a way, if I want to be a better partner, to navigate through this anxiety or my tunnel vision, whatever you want to call it, of attention span, so that I don't spiral, is what I mean. Like, I'm pushing 40. There's a lot of stuff that can't change, but there are certain things that's like, well, how do you do things that when you do need to multitask? I might just need to apply that to my everyday life, because like it's not every day that I have 50 things to do. And when I do, it's like, all right, make a list, because like the PTA is piling up. I got to do some stuff for dumb dads. Lucy's got gymnastics, so let me make a list. And
those are ways I feel too that when that happens to me, I feel like I start to I'll sometimes just go to my wife and say, I need something to do, because we had a conversation that morning about how much stuff needs to get done. Mm-hmm. And then because so much stuff needs to get done, I don't know what to do. Like it's hard because I want to focus
That's
on one
why.
thing.
That's
And
why I
so,
want to
like,
make the list though, so
Yeah.
that I can avoid having that conversation with her and making her be my list checker for me.
Sure. And my wife will do this as well. She will. My wife is very good at making lists, but oftentimes she'll make a list and just put it in the kitchen.
Sure.
And like then I know I can just go focus on one of those things, and then it can focus on it and get it done, and then we can do something else and do the next thing. And it's a lot about what it is
Sure.
because a lot of times, I mean, that's just parenting in general. And of course, I mean, I think both our wives and many wives and many partners, let's say, but in our specific situation, take a lot of that mental load, which is overwhelming. And I admire that so much
Sure.
about my wife that
Of
she
course.
can do that. A lot of the times that is trying to take on too much or think about too many things at once and then feeling overwhelmed by it is what can shut me down or send me into an anxiety attack or something like because it's like there's too much to do. I can't even focus on one of these things. How are we ever going to get all this done?
Right.
Like that's where it kind of goes sometimes.
Yeah.
So it is about just understanding you can't do it all. Nobody can do it all. And
Right.
that's of course what makes a great partnership is that like, I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours and that, or I'll scratch yours. That's not, I messed that up. But you know what I'm saying? Like that's a lot of the ways of what helps a lot of that kind of stuff. So anyway, boy, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know that, it has been a long 2 weeks.
It's been a long 2 weeks. I will twist it out of this, which was really funny. On the drive to, I think it was to my parents, my daughter said, she said something about Rudolph. And she was like, so Rudolph's at the front to help see? And I was like, yeah. So when there was one foggy night, Santa needed help on his sleigh to see. And she went, I don't believe in that. And I was like, what don't you believe in? And she was like, Rudolph. And I was like, you don't believe in Rudolph? And I was like, okay. And she went, it just doesn't make sense. And I was like, so specifically, you don't believe in Rudolph? And she's like, yeah. I was like,
Because Santa,
but the
is
rest, okay. Hey, okay.
think about it this way, Dad. Here's what you're not understanding.
I think we got a year.
Here's what you're not understanding.
I think
the
I got
whole
it, yeah.
world has a foggy night. No, he's going through different atmospheric changes, different pressure zones, different weather entirely. Here's what, Dad. It's night when the other half of the world is day. See, it's all about timing.
We got a year before she figures it out.
You think you have that long?
She's not gonna think about it for a year. She's not gonna think about it.
That is, when we get to those conversations, it's going to be rich stuff to talk about because there's plenty of ways to navigate through it, talk about what we need to do. Here's the thing. We don't we don't necessarily subscribe to like Elf on the Shelf in the way that like he's watching you, he's doing all this. We just like move the guy around, which we think is fun.
Yeah.
And when the kids wake up in the morning, like, look where he's sitting. That's hilarious. But we were like pretty sure my son, who's 7, is like, I think he's just... he's going to figure... It's going to be really soon before he's like, I don't know what's going on here. Yeah. Well, because you see him, they're around, and then, But then the ultimate example of innocence and hope in a young child's wonderful heart is that like my wife and I have a conversation like that, and then like 2 days later, independently by himself, he goes over and like asks something specifically of the little elf. Like we can hear him in the other room talking to him, and we're just looking at each other like, oh wow, man, like that's amazing that he still has that in him. That like the belief and hope that he has is something we don't want to lose. You foster that for sure in kids, right? And so it was really interesting that he went over and was like, hey, can you tell Santa that I was thinking about this thing or whatever? And so the couple of things we had done, we have like this letters to Santa box that we like keep.
Yeah.
And like he'll tell us, he'll be sitting over there, what are you doing? He's like, I'm writing Santa a letter. So it's like in those little ways, we make sure to like, he'll go over, drop it in the box that night, take it out of the box. Mm-hmm. And then we'll write like a little note. Got your note. Thank you very much. Working hard. Hope you're having a Merry Christmas, like from Santa. And then like put it in the elves, like clip it to his hand or something. So he goes and sees like, oh my God, he wrote me back. Like that stuff, he still has it.
Yeah.
So it's so funny where it's like, but he's smart enough to know, not smart enough to know necessarily, but smart enough to figure it out. I think by the time sort of next year rolls around too, it might have some quite different conversations around
Sure.
around Christmas and what that means and and the story of it all. But
Yeah.
the tricky thing about it is that, of course, we'll have a 5-year-old or and you'll have a 4-year-old around that time. So it's like navigating that between the two is going to be
fun.
Gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And the fun is in all caps, but also quotes and in parentheses. It's italicized.
It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things.
What was your holiday like, Evan?
Well, we haven't been sick really
Mm-hmm.
because we've been staying away from you guys.
Cool.
It was wonderful.
Sounds fun.
My wife's parents were up, and so we spent the holiday with them. We went and we just picked little things like you guys were trying to do, like went and went and saw lights, went and saw the zoo lights, and really just had, just good family time. In a year that we weren't traveling for the holidays to go see my parents, it's nice in those moments to have your Christmas at home with your kids and just do a bunch of that stuff. So that was great. I'm sure we
get to the good shit.
Yeah, I got you. The funniest moment, not one of the funniest moments, but one of my really favorite moments, speaking of being overwhelmed with the holidays and all the things that need to be done. So through my wife's side of the family, some of which are Italian, there's an Italian tradition of doing a 7-fish dinner for Christmas Eve. And I don't really know how to. We've done it only a couple times. My mother-in-law did it when my wife and I were dating, and it was like true 7-fish dinner all day event kind of thing.
7 different fishes.
7 different fishes.
Okay.
To which at the end of the night she was like, "I hope you really enjoyed that because I'm never doing that again," because it was so much work. The way around that is something like cioppino. So it's an Italian soup. You put like whitefish, clams, mussels, scallops, and it's like, well, there's 6 right there. But we wanted to try to keep that tradition and do something fun with that. So we had like crab appetizer, smoked salmon appetizer, and then cioppino. That's what we made. So it was like 7. There you go. One has 5. Get over yourself. So the funny thing about that was our intention for Christmas Eve. Now, we're also hosting Christmas Eve. We're hosting Christmas and everything. They're going to come over. It's not a huge event because it's just in-laws or grandma and grandpa coming over, whatever.
Yeah.
But still, it was like a lot to think about. Got to go get all these ingredients. My wife's going to like 3 or 4 stores, making sure she gets everything. And we were so overwhelmed with the planning of it all that we were also, our plan for Christmas dinner was to do a roast. That's what our plan was. Oh. So we had this conversation Christmas Eve morning going, okay, let's do some backwards math. A lot of times you do this with like a big meal prep or something like that. Let's do some backwards math. We want to eat at this time.
Oh, yeah.
So the roast should go in at this time, which means we should start some of this other stuff at this time. And then we were mixing 2 dinners.
Uh-oh.
So about 40, that was in the morning over coffee. We were just like going over what needed to happen that day and when it needed to happen and when we desire to start it. 45 minutes later, I'm in the shower and she comes in. She's like, hey, babe, we're not doing the roast today. And I was like, right.
Oh,
that's tomorrow. But we did all this like math about like when it needs to get.
Job.
And then it started. It was like, great. So that works for tomorrow. So the idea was like at 1:00, we should start this. We were going to sous vide it. So at 1:00, we do this. And then then the water bath by this is going to be 4 hours. It's going to be, this whole thing. And then the next day at about 2:30, 3:00, we looked at each other and went, oh my God, the roast, which we had not started at all.
It's not happening if that's the case.
It did happen. And I don't really know how, but we got it to temperature and it stuck around in there for a long time and we finished it in the oven and ate a little late, but it worked out pretty well. But it was hilarious that like the day before we were like planning like it was
to
that
a
day.
T.
And to a T, down to the minute. And then the next day, like lackadaisically, Christmas morning, did the marathon of presents it takes for you to open all the stuff with your kids that everybody sends you. Mm-hmm. And it just takes so long. But take a picture, write it down, make sure we know who to send the card to, send them the photo to show them that they did enjoy it, which we try to do that as much as we can because if they're not there with us, we try to give them the experience of getting them to, they see the kid open the thing that they sent. Anyway, here's the real dumb dad moment I had.
There we go.
And fortunately for this context, it really had to do with my wife's gift from me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
My wife's a massive planner. I mean, she had stuff that she had bought me like in October and stuff, you know.
Please tell me you didn't get her a planner.
I didn't get it. Yeah. So I had a couple things I bought early, but I was like trying to think about what I was like, what's the thing that I really want to get her though, and a good idea, something that she really likes. So my wife has a couple of these flannels that she wears all the time that she loves from Pendleton, the company that made them. Pendleton.
Okay.
Important that we remember.
No, we got it.
Yeah. So one of the days that I picked, this is like, I don't know, like not a week, but almost a week out, like 5 or 6 days before Christmas. I was like, I'm going to go do some shopping. I told her the day before, I'm going to go do some shopping tomorrow. She's like, great. I was like, I'm going to be out for a while. I had looked up where is a Patagonia store near us, right? So looked it up. It's going to be here. This is where I'm going to go. I'm going to go here. I'm going to shop for her. This is the thing I'd like to get her, blah, 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 blah. I don't know if you've already caught the mistake, but I've already revealed the mistake. So I'm like, it's down in Santa Monica. I'm going to go here. This is where I'm going to go shopping.
It's in Santa Monica.
Santa Monica.
Oh, no.
So when I tell her the next day, I'm like, okay, I'm going to take off. She's like, okay. I go in the bedroom. I go to one of her shirts. What I want to do is make sure I get the right size. So what I do is I go in the room. She doesn't see me. I'm being sneaky. I go in there. I look at the tag. Okay, medium, Pendleton. Uh-oh.
You got Patagonia.
Patagonia is where I mapped in Santa Monica because there's a store I can go shop at for her.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's a Pendleton shirt. Not good. So let's figure out where a Pendleton store is. There's none in the area. So
How far out are we? Next day?
oh, well, the thing is, so I was like, oh no. Now I've basically leveraged all my time against like, I'm going to go to this specific store of this shirt and then get her something there that she's going to really like. And now there's that store that doesn't exist because it's a different P word.
It's not even close.
It's kind of close. I will say this. The two brands are sort of similar in that it's like camping adjacent, like outdoors feel, but it's still the different brand. It's still not the same company.
No.
So what I do, I don't say anything. I go, okay, I'm going to take off now. And then I had like a couple plans to go to a couple little stores that I knew where I could get, when I liked to shop for stuff that she likes. But the main store I was going to go to didn't exist in the sense of what I thought it did a couple days before. So I go down to the couple little shops where I'm going to shop, but I just park in the parking lot for like 45 minutes and I'm on the Pendleton website looking at stuff like I got to find something. I get on the chat with somebody live that works at the company on their website. To my saving grace said, order today, get it by the 24th. And I'm like, oh, thank
Dumb dad
so
getting
good.
it on the day before.
So good. So I find the stuff I want. I put it in the cart. That's when I get on with the chat. Like, they're like, got to choose next day air. Like, sure, I'm going to pay a penalty for that, but I kind of deserve that because I got the name wrong and that was my fault. But at least we're in a thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, it showed up like on the 29th, I think. The 28th.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So because that was the week that there was a massive cold front all throughout the United States. There was like massive storms, cold front storms all throughout the United States that delayed everything.
Did your shirt fly southwest?
No. But the holiday cards that we ordered 2 weeks before Christmas got lost. They had to send us they had to like emergency send us a new shipment, which then got lost and held because of that storm. Those also got there like 3 days after Christmas. we had intentions of sending out like a week before Christmas.
Yeah.
To send to people. So the whole the thing is like the whole shipping debacle because of the cold front in the United States bid us for ordering things early, but also for me ordering something late because I didn't get the name right of something. Is so annoying. I was so annoyed with myself that I had other stuff picked, was going to go to the store she liked. I was all good. And then I was going to go somewhere really special that I was going to get her something really nice.
I like that you say that they're sort of similar. Let's do a little exercise. Let's pretend you're in a spelling bee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give you a word. You're going to spell Patagonia, and I'll stop you when you're wrong.
Yeah.
Your word is Pendleton. P-A. Wrong.
That's not even right. I was just like, when you're thinking about a bunch of things at once, that's part of the thing on my plate. I'm going to go here. They're going to make sure I look it up. Where is one? I just typed it in wrong because I misremembered the name. But everything about it was like, that's where it is and that's where I'm going. Mm-hmm. I have that handled the next day. Don't even have to think about it. Because I already mapped how far it is away from me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was already handled. I thought of that ahead of time and was ready to go. and it didn't exist because it was wrong. It's like...
failure.
Dude. And then I just told my wife, like, something I ordered for you isn't here in time. But I didn't want to tell her why at first, but I was like... It's a really good dumb dad moment. I can't wait to do it. When I told her, she laughed really hard. She's like, you dummy. I was like, I know. It's like I had it all thought out in my head, and it was like I misguided myself.
My wife and I made a joint, we'll end it with this, a joint dumb parent moment, which was our kids have been sick on holiday break. My wife, her job goes on break, just goes on hiatus for 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. She goes back to work on Monday, the 2nd. So, like, it's been a bummer of being indoors and doing a lot of walks, a lot of driving around, seeing Christmas lights, so trying to make the best of it for kids, which is just a nice reminder. That's not hard to do. Like kids, just like kids are with being sick, of just being like, I guess my nose doesn't work anymore. Like, they're also like that with Christmas. They're just excited for it. We decorate our house. Mm-hmm. We walk around the neighborhood. They get hot chocolate. We'll drive around in like some pretty crazy good houses. And that's like almost enough for them. But we were also still like, we're on break. Let's do stuff together we can't do. Yeah. So when they were feeling pretty good, there was no fevers involved here. And
so that you had a 10-minute window between
fevers. Like a 10-minute window. We went to the zoo during the day because it was like, it's outdoors. Yeah. We'd feel terrible like going indoors with our kids. So we're like, let's go somewhere outdoors. Let's go to the zoo. And we went with them, and we were there for tops 45 minutes. Oh, because we were walking with them, and they both just started like just coughing like they smoke cigars and inhale them, like just bad.
Now that we're outside, we can really let this go.
Yeah, and they were still wearing masks and stuff. We're all wearing masks outside, and they're just hacking along, and like we just did it for like the long enough that my wife and I were like, let's get the fuck out of here.
This isn't worth the looks that we're getting behind our backs.
Yeah. We were just like, we have to go. It's 55 and I'm sweating bullets because of how uncomfortable I am. Let's just go. And we were just like, all right, well, that didn't work. Let's go back home.
Yeah, that's what we get.
Yep.
For trying to give our kids an experience. That's what we get.
And then the big Christmas present we got them, which was like we got it on, it wasn't Buy Nothing, but it was one of those like Facebook marketplaces where it's really cheap. Yeah. We were so excited to get them. Was a California kids. It was a bouncy house. Mm-hmm. Like a really big bouncy house.
So now you have entered into the bouncy house realm.
So we opened it up.
As I have exited it.
So it has a slide attached to it, so it can't like fit in any of our rooms.
Ours had a slide too. I don't know how it fit in the...
Yours had a slide out. This one came out the side. Like there's a slide up, and then there's a slide out the side.
Oh, there's
like,
two of them.
2 slides.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an entrance slide, but this has like a cool like side slide. So it won't fit in our house. So I blew it up on the lawn, and the kids were playing out for like not even 5 minutes, like 2 and a minute. Yeah. And they were both like, can we go inside? It's really cold. And we were just like, yeah, you can go inside. I think it's 51. It's not cold. And if you move faster, your bodies will warm. It doesn't matter.
If you would utilize the bouncy part of the bouncy house, you'd be sweating.
So they did the same thing though last year. I reminded my wife that when we got them like a dome bars thing for them to climb on, and they didn't care for it then either. And they'll get around to it. And I think June we're going to be big fans of it.
You would still think though, like some kids, like it's a pool, like the kids are like, it's cold. But once they get used to it, then they're like in the pool forever because like
they didn't get used to it in 60 seconds. They like downtown 4 times. They're like, can we get out of here?
That's hilarious. I would think the kids would be like,
they were
living here now.
They were, and then they got out and they were like, I was like, okay, forget everything. But that's where we're gonna leave it, guys. How was your holiday season? Please let us know. You can email us. dumbdadpod@gmail.com. Mm-hmm. You can DM us on Instagram. We're at The Dumb Dads, which is our handle on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. or not Facebook. Well, we are on Facebook, but
You're on Facebook.
that's also our handle on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, but write into us. Let us know. What was your holiday debacles? Did you guys get sick? The whole country was sick. Was it better, worse, somewhere in between of what we had?
Please help Kevin feel.
Please help.
Please normalize Kevin's experience for the holidays.
And we'll leave it there. And thank you guys to all the subscribers. We did finish out our No Kids Hungry fundraiser, which was great. We donated another $750 to No Kids Hungry. So thank you to all our new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who pushed people to listen to this podcast.
And welcome in. If you're here for the first time, welcome in. And thank you for joining us. And trust me, it only gets worse.
It only gets milder from here. So thank you. And if you want, please consider donating to No Kid Hungry, especially this time of year. It's a great cause.
That's
and thank you to @Purdue on SoundCloud for making the music of this podcast. And thank you to my lovely wife, Annie, for editing this pod. Evan, do you have a joke?
I do. We're just going to flip to our classic book here and just go over one of these so-called jokes.
This book makes me
here
mad.
It goes. 4 fonts walk into a bar.
4 fonts?
Fonts.
Fonts?
F-O-N-T-S. 4 fonts walk into a bar. The bartender yells, "Get out of here. We don't like your type." See, like, the thing about some of these dad jokes, it's forced even in the first sentence. It's not even...
It's also a joke about bigotry. Jesus. Okay, sorry about that. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome to the world, little one. Welcome to life.
How do I stop this?